In this video, I'm going to teach you how to customize the targeting cone to meet your specific experimental needs. And the very first thing I'm going to do is click Save As under the File menu to resave the targeting cone template file with a name that corresponds to the experiment that I plan to conduct. So I'm going to call this cone underscore NACC for nucleus accumbens, because I'm going to be putting probes into the nucleus accumbens, HIP because I'm also going to be putting probes into the hippocampus, and VTA because I'm going to be putting probes into the ventral tegmental area. And I'm going to save this as an assembly because that's what it is, and I'm going to say save. Now I'll wait a moment for that to finish. And there, you see that the file name has changed. And you'll want to save a different file for each targeting cone that you design for different experiments. Now I want to draw your attention to this sub-window on the left-hand side, which lists all of the various subcomponents of the targeting cone template file. And you can see that there's a folder here called Figures, and if I click on the plus to expand that, you see that this template file actually contains low-resolution reproductions of all of the coronal plates from the Atlas of Paxinos and Watson. These are not intended to be used as a replacement for the Paxinos and Watson Atlas. I highly recommend that you purchase your own copy of the Atlas because these are low-resolution images. But using these will be very helpful for designing your targeting cone and deciding where your probe trajectories should be placed. So in this video, I'm going to start simple by showing you how to place a bundle of probes into the hippocampus, and the center of the bundle is going to be located at coordinates 2.6 millimeters posterior to bregma. Now none of these figure plates are actually at that exact coordinate of 2.6 millimeters posterior. The closest one is this figure 30 here, which I think is at 2.58 millimeters, which is pretty close. So if we click on figure 30 and right click and go up here to choose Show Components, you'll see that Atlas page appear underneath the targeting cone at coordinates 2.56 millimeters posterior to bregma, which is pretty close to the 2.6 that we're targeting. Now that my target plane is visible, I'm going to go over here and collapse the Figures folder so that I can see all of the components of the template file again. And now I want to draw your attention to these two folders here, these two Guide to Bundle folders. There are three different types of Guide to bundles that we can use with this template file: 9x, 7x, and 4x bundles, and we'll see what that means in just a moment. I'm going to do a 9x bundle in this demonstration, so I'm going to expand the 7x, 9x folder, and now you can see that these Guide to bundles appear, and they're all invisible right now. You know that because their icons are black and white. But I'm going to make one of them visible, the first one, by clicking on it and then clicking on the Show Components icon. And then you see this bundle of probes appear in front of the tube. Now to get a better view of what's going on here, we can look from the underside. And what you can see is that there is a bundle of 9 probes that are shaped in a diamond shape, and the center one is not visible because it's occluded by this hole at bregma. But this bundle is centered exactly upon bregma when it appears, and we're going to move it relative to bregma, so bregma will be our starting point. Now we need to move this bundle posteriorly into the plane that we want to target, and then also laterally over to target the part of the hippocampus that we're interested in. To move the bundle, we have to have it selected, and it is right now. You can see that because it's shaded in dark blue here. But the whole thing doesn't have to be selected like this. So I'm going to click into the bregma hole to deselect it and show you that even if just a little part of it is selected, like say just this probe here, then that's enough for me to now move this bundle to where I want it to be. And I do that by going up here to Move Component and pulling down this menu and then clicking on Move Component. And then you'll see this menu appear on the left, and I'm going to change what it says Free Drag here to by delta XYZ so that I can move by a delta XYZ value. Now, before I explain how to move it, it's important to explain what these XYZ coordinates correspond to. So to do that, I'm going to go to the View Orientation button. And from here, I'm going to choose a frontal view and zoom in on that so you can see a view of the figure from directly in front. Now, you can see that there are 3 coordinate axes of the three-dimensional space X, Y, and Z. And these are assigned such that the X coordinate is the lateral dimension in the coronal plane, the Y coordinate is the vertical dimension in the coronal plane, and the Z coordinate is the anterior posterior axis of the brain. So whenever we move or rotate something by a delta XYZ, as we're about to do here, the X, the Y, and the Z correspond to those three axes. The lateral axis, the dorsiventral axis, and the anteroposterior axis respectively, X, Y, Z. So what I need to do first is move this entire bundle back in the posterior direction into the plane that I'm targeting. So that's going to be a movement along the Z-axis, and it's going to be a negative sign movement because we're moving posterior to bregma. And I said earlier that my target is going to be minus 2.6 millimeters posterior to bregma. So when I click apply, it's going to change the position of this bundle by that amount. I'll hit apply, and there you go. You can see that the bundle moved, and I'll zoom in so you can see it better. Now the bundle is in the same plane, almost, because the plane is actually at 2.56 rather than 2.6, but close enough. It's almost in the same plane as the figure, and I can use the figure now to guide me in positioning it in the medial lateral dimension. So before I do that, I'm going to go back to the standard view and then choose this frontal plane again, so that I can get a nice head-on view as I try to move this medial-laterally to where I want to be. Now before I move the bundle laterally, the first thing I'm going to do is go over here and set this delta Z to 0, because I don't want to move along the Z axis anymore. I've done that. And then I'm going to go to delta X, because that's the lateral axis here. And I've decided that I'm going to center the bundle at 2 millimeters lateral from bregma at this point. So I'm going to hit 2. And I'm going to put this bundle on the right side of the brain. So since I'm viewing this from the front, that's actually going to correspond to a leftward shift of the bundle. And in order to get a leftward shift, I need to make the 2 a minus 2. It's got to move in the leftward direction. So now that I've done that, I should be able to hit apply. And sure enough, the bundle moves to the left by 2 millimeters. And this is the coordinate that I'm actually going to target. So now that I've got the bundle in the position where I want it to be, I need to make that movement permanent by clicking this check mark here. And now the bundle is in its final position. My next step is going to be to drill a hole in the targeting cone that this bundle, this guide tube bundle, is going to pass through. This is the whole point of this exercise, is to make this hole in the targeting cone so that when we print it, it will be in the proper position to target this bundle to the part of the brain that we're interested in. So you can see the top of the bundle emerging into the inside of the targeting cone here. And in order to drill the hole that I want to drill, I'm going to go up here to Assembly Features, and I'm going to choose Extruded Cut. And when I do that, I'm prompted on the left to choose a plane in which to draw the circle that I'm going to base my hole on. And the plane that I want, I'll zoom in a little bit to select it. The plane that I want is the plane that is parallel to the tops of these guide tube bundles. So I click on the very top of the guide tube bundle, and now I get a new view that is perpendicular to that plane I selected. You can click on any one of these guide tube bundle tops when you're asked to select the plane, and you'll get the correct plane. And now I'll zoom back in, and I can see the top of the guide tube bundle, and I need to draw a circle. So I'm going to click on this circle tool up here, and then I'm going to go to the center of the bundle. When I do that, I'm going to hold down the left mouse key. I'm going to pull this circle outward until I get the outermost circle. There's two circles here. This one is for drilling holes for a 7x bundle, and that's not what we're doing here. We're using a 9x bundle. So we're going to go out until this outer circle turns orange, let go of the left mouse button, and now we've drawn the correct circle. And we want to hit green check to make that circle permanent. And then we have to go over to the upper left and click Exit Sketch. Now that we've exited the sketch, we're going to get this little error message that we can dismiss by hitting Close. And I'm going to get a menu on the left side, and I have to change this blind to through all both, because I'm going to cut a hole through all of the components in this assembly. I do that, and now if I hit check mark for cut extrude, I should be able to zoom in and see that my hole has in fact been drilled. And you can see that there is now a hole in the targeting cone that is located exactly above where I want this bundle to go into the hippocampus. So when I print the cone, that's where I'm going to be inserting that guide tube bundle. Now to review all of this, let's put another hole on the left side of the brain so that we can have a bilateral implant of electrodes into the hippocampus. And I'll start that by going up here to the View Orientation button, going back to my standard view. And since you've seen all this before, I'm going to go a little bit faster this time. I'll start by going over here, and I'm going to collapse this guide tube bundle that I've already created. And notice that even though the guide tube bundle is colored, suggesting that it should be visible, it's not. And that's because when we carved the hole, it carved that guide tube bundle right out of the picture. So we can't see it anymore. And if we want to see it, we would have to go over to this hole that we cut and delete the hole. We could do that by clicking Cut Extrude 8 here and then hitting Delete. And then we would have to re-drill the hole if we wanted it back. But I'm not going to do that. What I am going to do is I'm going to make another guide tube bundle visible by clicking on it and then clicking the Show Components button. And there's the guide tube bundle that I'm going to place next. I'm going to put this one on the left side of the brain. And I think that I'll put this one at a different coordinate. I think instead of minus 2.6 posterior to bregma, I'll make this minus 2.9 posterior to bregma. So I'm going to go back to my figures folder and expand it again. Figure 30 is the figure that I currently have visible here, but if I'm going to go a little farther back, I should probably hide this figure, hide components, and I'll make figure 31 visible instead of figure 30, because that one is a little farther back at 2.8 millimeters posterior to bregma, closer to my target of 2.9 in this case. So now I'm going to recollapse the figures folder, and if I want to move this guide tube bundle, I just have to click on any part of it. So I could click on that probe, for example, and now I'll go to Move Component, and I get my prompt where I'll select by delta XYZ. First, I'm going to move in the Z plane. I'm going to go back by minus 2.9, so I'll be minus 2.9 millimeters posterior to bregma. And I know actually already that my lateral coordinate is going to be plus 2.0 millimeters. So this will move it to the left side of the brain 2 millimeters off the midline. And I can actually do both of these in one step if I know what I'm going to do in advance, as I do here. So instead of doing it in 2 steps as we did last time, I'll put both the Z and the X shift here, and then I'll hit Apply, and boom, this goes right to where I want it to be. Now I'm going to hit the check mark, make that permanent. I'm going to go get my top view here, and now we're ready to drill our hole. So once again, we go to Assembly Features and choose Extruded Cut. We're being asked to choose a plane. We do that by choosing any top surface of one of these probes, so I'll click on that one. I get a view that's perpendicular to the plane that I chose. I'll zoom back down, and now I need to draw my circle, so I'll click on Circle, and then I'm going to click on the center of this bundle, pull out until the outer circle turns orange. Don't want to go too far there. Click Check, uncheck Exit Sketch, dismiss my error, zoom back in. Now I'm going to go over and choose Through All Both, click the check mark, and there we are. 2 holes at slightly different posterior coordinates on the left and right side of the brain for bilaterally implanting probe bundles into the hippocampus. So that concludes this basic introductory video. In the next video, we're going to cover some more advanced topics. We'll see how to insert a 7x guide tube bundle, and we'll see how to insert the bundles at an angle and how to rotate them before we reposition it. So that will be covered in the next video.